Imagine being a bright, young, and accomplished student with a future as promising as the California sun. Dane Elkins had it all: a national racquetball champion, an engineering student, and a beloved son. But one cold December night in 2020, everything changed. A frantic phone call, an abandoned car on a desolate highway, and a trail of cryptic sightings would lead everyone asking the same haunting question: how does someone with so much potential simply vanish? Stay with me as we uncover the strange, baffling disappearance of Dane Elkins, a mystery that continues to baffle investigators and pull at the hearts of his family and leave everyone else wondering, what happened and where is Dane? Please, I need your kindness and understanding that near the end of this video, I have a very special message from the family. Please listen and stay with this story to the end. Join me for another odd, mysterious story here at Odd Mystery Stories. Dane Elkins was the kind of person people admired. At just 21 years old, he was already a standout in the world of racquetball, boasting 23 junior national titles and a reputation as one of the sport's brightest young stars. A black belt in karate, he was disciplined, focused, and driven, a reflection of the support and encouragement of his close-knit family. When he wasn't competing, Dane was pursuing an engineering degree at UC Santa Cruz. His future seemed as solid and carefully planned as his precision on the racquetball court. Friends and family described him as a kind-hearted and intelligent person, someone who brought a sense of determination and warmth to everything he did. But beneath his shining exterior, there were glimpses of a struggle. As the COVID-19 pandemic turned the world upside down, Dane began to retreat into himself. His once confident demeanor giving way to uncertainty and paranoia. For those that knew him, the changes were subtle at first, but soon became impossible to ignore. No one could have guessed that this promising young man, with so much talent and potential, would soon find himself at the center of a chilling mystery. Dane's journey from star athlete to a missing person raises questions that grow more unsettling with each detail. By early 2020, the world was in the throes of uncertainty, and Dane Elkins was no exception. For someone as accomplished and driven as Dane, the isolation and upheaval caused by the COVID-19 pandemic seemed to take a toll that no one anticipated. The confident and focused young man began exhibiting signs of paranoia, withdrawing from those closest to him. Dane's family became increasingly concerned as his behavior grew more erratic. He spoke of fears that didn't seem rooted in reality, worrying incessantly about his safety and the safety of those he loved. The once grounded engineering student seemed to be unraveling, and his decision to live out of his car only heightened the alarm. Despite their best efforts, Dane's family struggled to reach him. Calls and conversations with him often left them more worried than reassured. He was always on the move, driven by fears that seemed impossible to quiet. To his loved ones, it felt as if Dane was slipping further and further away, physically, emotionally, and mentally. By December of 2020, his paranoia had reached a breaking point. Dane made a chilling phone call to his mother, Deborah, expressing fears that someone was after him and that their family was in danger. His words were unsettling, filled with urgency and dread. Then, just like that, Dane was gone. The question lingered: were Dane's fears justified, or was he running from something that existed only in his mind? The line between reality and imagination blurred as the search for answers began. December 21st, 2020 was the last day anyone heard Dane Elkins' voice. That evening, Dane called his mother, Deborah, in a state of distress. His words were frantic and his fears palpable. He was convinced that someone was following him and that both he and his family were in imminent danger. Deborah tried to calm him, but the phone call ended abruptly, leaving her with more questions than answers. This recently released video was shared by his family to News Nation.
Another thing that the CIA does, so they recruit you, right? And if footage of Dane Elkins, the day he disappeared, his last social media post.
Yeah, I just figured going public with this was crazy. They gave me a passport.
He did one last Snapchat and told us that the government was after him and our family. That is when we knew something was really wrong.
Later that night, Dane dialed 911, but the details of that call remain unclear. What is known is that shortly afterward, Dane's car was discovered abandoned near Interstate 5 and Templin Highway, a desolate stretch of road near Castaic, California. Inside the car, investigators found Dane's wallet, cell phone, and some of his personal belongings, but there was no sign of Dane himself. The scene was as puzzling as it was unsettling. The presence of his belongings suggested he hadn't planned to leave for long, yet his sudden disappearance hinted at something far more troubling. Did Dane willingly walk away, driven by his paranoia, or had he encountered a danger he could not escape? As the hours turned to days, his family's worst fears began to take shape. With no evidence of foul play and no clear direction to search, the trail grew cold almost immediately. For those who loved Dane, the lack of answers was both frustrating and heartbreaking. What could have happened on that lonely stretch of highway that night? The mystery of Dane's disappearance was now in full focus, with no leads and no sign of him. It seemed only to deepen with every passing day. When Dane Elkins vanished, his family wasted no time rallying support to find him. His mother, Deborah, became the driving force behind the search, pouring her energy into raising awareness and gathering information. With no clear leads from law enforcement, Deborah turned to social media, using platforms like Facebook, X, and Instagram to share Dane's story and reach as many people as possible. Search efforts expanded across California and beyond. Flyers were distributed, searchers were organized, and tips began to trickle in. Some claimed to have seen Dane near the Mojave Desert, while others reported sightings in more populated areas, like at the Santa Cruz Wharf. Each potential lead brought a glimmer of hope, but none could be definitively verified. The challenges were immense. Dane's decision to live off-grid and his deteriorating mental state made it difficult to pinpoint his movements. Surveillance footage and witness accounts often yielded conflicting information. Investigators were left trying to piece together a fragmented puzzle with no clear picture of what happened. The family will never give up. Deborah remains a tireless advocate, working with local authorities, mental health organizations, and volunteers. Her determination has kept the case in the public eye, ensuring Dane's disappearance wasn't forgotten. The hashtag Find Dane Elkins gained traction, spreading awareness to a wider audience. Despite these efforts, the trail remained frustratingly cold. With each day that passed without new information, the uncertainty grew more unbearable. Was Dane still alive, wandering in search of safety, or had something far more sinister occurred? As the search continued, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a missing persons case. It was a family's desperate fight for answers and a community's shared hope for resolution. As time has passed, the search for Dane was punctuated by a series of reported sightings, glimmers of hope that, unfortunately, often led to dead ends. These sightings spanned various locations across California. Each report painted a different picture. A man who looked like Dane, wandering alone, disheveled, and seemingly lost. One of the most compelling reports placed Dane in Oakdale, a small town northeast of his last known location. Witnesses described a young man resembling him, carrying a backpack and speaking incoherently. Another sighting suggested he may have been sleeping near a campground. But despite detailed descriptions and a few blurred photos, none of these leads could be verified. The uncertainty surrounding these sightings weighed heavily on Dane's family. Every tip sparked a flurry of activity, phone calls, searches, and public pleas. But each time they returned to the same frustrating question. Was it really Dane? Without clear evidence, it was impossible to know. The potential explanations for these sightings were as varied as they were unsettling. Was Dane surviving off the grid, driven by his paranoia to avoid detection? Or were their witnesses mistaken, their minds filling in the blanks with what they had hoped to see? As the reports trickled off, the family was left in painful limbo. They knew Dane was out there somewhere, but where and in what condition? His absence remained a mystery. The sightings offered brief moments of light in an otherwise dark and confounding case, but they also served as a reminder of how close, yet impossibly far, they were from finding him. Despite the tireless efforts of Dane's family, the reported sightings, and the community's involvement, the mystery of Dane Elkins' disappearance remains unsolved. Years have passed since that fateful December night when his abandoned car was discovered on the side of Interstate 5, and yet not a single piece of definitive evidence has surfaced to explain what happened to him. His family continues to hold out hope, refusing to let Dane's story fade into obscurity. Deborah, in particular, has made it her mission to keep his case in the public eye. She believes that someone, somewhere, knows something that could lead to Dane. Through media appearances, social media campaigns, and outreach to mental health organizations, Deborah and her family remain committed to finding answers. I certainly hope that this video will reach viewers that have connections in that state where Dane went missing, and we can help this family find their loved one. For the Elkins family, the search for Dane is a deeply personal but also emblematic of a broader struggle faced by families of missing persons. It's a battle against time, silence, and uncertainty. They continue to urge the public to remain vigilant and report any potential sightings or information, no matter how small it may seem. Dane's story is a reminder of how quickly a promising life can be derailed by unseen struggles. It's a call to understand and support those dealing with mental health challenges, as well as a plea for awareness in the ongoing fight to bring missing loved ones home. As the case remains open, one thing is certain. The mystery of Dane Elkins' disappearance has left an indelible mark on everyone who hears it, urging us to ask questions for which one day we hope to have answers. The disappearance of Dane Elkins remains one of the most puzzling cases in recent years. It is a story marked by triumph and tragedy, hope and despair, and an unsettling lack of answers. As we reflect on the details of this case, several theories emerge, some plausible, others less so. One of the most likely explanations is that Dane's struggles with mental health have played a central role in his disappearance. His paranoia and decision to live out of his car suggest he may have been attempting to escape perceived dangers that weren't rooted in reality. If this is true, Dane could still be out there, surviving off the grid, isolated and unwilling to be found. Many families of missing persons hold on to this possibility, but it comes with its own heartache, the thought of a loved one suffering alone. The following is a direct message from his family and loved ones. I will include the links to the Facebook page mentioned in the description below. Please take note of their request. To Dane's family and friends, the pain of his absence is immeasurable, but their commitment to finding him is a testament to their enduring love. As this mystery continues to unfold, we can only hope for the resolution they so desperately seek and the answers that have eluded them for so long. For now, Dane's story remains an unsolved mystery, one that compels us to ask hard questions about mental health, community support, and the fragility of human connection. And perhaps one day, those questions will lead us closer to the truth and finding Dane safely. Negative comments and victim shaming in this story will not be tolerated and will be immediately deleted. Hey, thanks for joining me in another odd mystery. If you enjoyed this story, you might also be interested in the story of the mysterious disappearance of Tony Jean Day in Oklahoma. You'll find the link to that story in the upper right corner of your screen. Your support helps keep these stories alive, giving the affected families the hope that they seek. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And for those who'd like to further support the channel, be sure to check out our online store for exclusive merch and more. I appreciate you. Thank you.